champion, two-time Olympian, the fastest skier in the world, Cary Mullen.
Our biggest moments of growth, our biggest moments of elation, they're often precluded by what? That discomfort and that uncertainty. Yet when we can push through it, that's when we can experience that kind of growth, that kind of elation.
To me, there's really 4 variables that I want to talk a little bit about. One is lunging forward. It's really being proactive and executing and taking our game out there and creating the momentum day in and day out. The prize is so often on the other side of our fear. We got to lunge in and grab that prize. It takes a process for success of improving and getting better and honing our skills to raise that bar and improve our skill sets.
I think if we can strive for success rather than perfection, it frees us to go to the next level. And all of a sudden his foot hooks on this cable, and his shoulder hits this tray, and 9 pitchers of water go sailing in the air. And they're cascading down, he stumbles, he trips, he stops right in front of her, puts out his hand. He says, "So, how do you like me so far?"
It takes being resilient. When we see specifically where we can improve, that's what prompts creativity.
My wife, in her style, with so many great lines, I think one of the best ones, though, is she says, "You just haven't lived until you've been in labor for 36 hours with a motivational speaker." Come on, sweetie, see it, believe, you can do it.
Finally, it takes team and tools.
One of my teammates had shared, he woke up in the middle of the night panic struck because he couldn't feel his hand. I can't feel my hand. Oh man, I can't feel my hand. I can't feel my arm. Oh man, I can't feel my arm. And his roommate wakes up, he says, "Shut up, Mike. Go to sleep, man. Let go of my arm." You're here to celebrate some of the finish lines that you've had, and I hope you recognize some of those finish lines that you've had coming off last year. 464 million in just December alone. You did 4.9 billion as a group last year. Had incredible growth, 944 million in new business, 49% increase over the year before, now in 2006 on track to hit 6 billion this year. Please give yourselves a round of applause for crossing those finish lines. Downhill ski racing is a metaphor for each of us. We have bumps and jumps coming at us that we don't know what's on the other side. We have new corners coming at us that we have to continuously be negotiating, changing our ways. But are we up for the challenge?
Help me give a huge true north welcome to world champion Olympian Cary Mullen.
That evening I was doing video analysis with my coaches, looking at myself come down the mountain, and we noticed some interesting components. I saw when I'd hit a really fast, scary section, I'd be coming down and I'd go like this. I'd hit another really fast, scary section, I'd go like this. You might not be up on downhill techniques, but that's not a very good one. It'd be like if you're driving down the freeway and somebody scared you and you jump in the back seat. Oh, who's driving? I said, okay, this might be natural, but it's not optimal. How can I retrain my response to this reaction? So I retrained my body every time I was skiing and I felt scared, I would lunge forward. Every time I got scared, I would do it in everyday life. A dog would jump out from around the corner, boom, would start barking, and I'd jump at the dog. And then I got really good at it. Someone would jump out from around the corner, they go, boo, and I go, boo, and they'd jump back. They'd be all scared. And I started to retrain myself. So when I got on the mountain and I went to Kitzbühel a couple years later, and I was up at the start, the first training run, 8 of the first 15 racers ended up in the hospital. I did my training run, and I was in the start of the race day, 3 days later then. It was race day, and the fog rolled in. The fog was there. A racer would go, and a helicopter would come in. Racer would go, a helicopter would come in. And I said, what are they doing down there? And they said, oh, well, they really want to get the race off, so they're bringing the helicopter in here to get the fog out of here. And I'm thinking, yeah, good idea. Didn't know they were taking them away in a helicopter every time. That's a little selective communication. But I stood in the start unwavering. No, I've trained myself. I'm going to overcome this fear. And I stood in the start, and I kicked out of the start, onto the pitch, off the first down past the stall hang, and through the net. I came onto the bottom of the Zeal shoes, the fastest part of the course, and I was bouncing and chattering, and I was loving it. I was savoring. I was going, yeah, give me more. And onto the pitch and down through the compression. I sailed off the finish jump, and I sailed 88 yards, and I landed across the finish line, looked up, and Cary Mullen, I set a speed record of 97 miles an hour. Thank you. It felt so good to be able to lunge forward in the face of that fear, and that's what we need to do. I've sensed that when I'm trying to make a cold call or go into a meeting with a boss, but you gotta lunge forward, boom, train ourselves so we're able to overcome and reach for that next level. That's what enables us to do it. When I set the speed record, ORF Austrian television was showing my run over and over in slow motion. They said, Cary Mullen just set the world downhill speed record of 151 kilometers an hour, 97 miles an hour. Here he is coming off the finish jump. He's got his hands behind his legs. What's he doing? Is he doing it on purpose? Is he out of control, or is he just crazy? It's interesting to me when people don't know why we're doing something. Sometimes they think we're crazy. But by measuring beyond what seemed logical, I saw specifically where we can improve. When we see specifically where we can improve, that's what prompts innovation. Helps us go to the next level. It's one thing to say, think outside the box, try it a new way, but I think if we measure, we see specifically where we can improve, that's what prompts that innovation for us. We can come up with new and better solutions, new approaches. Now you're the pros at what you do, so I'm just encouraged to ask you the question, is there a technique? Is there part of your process that you can measure for even better results for you?
The quest for speed. That speed starts with a dream. And for me, it started when I was 6 years old. I remember standing at the top of Sunshine Village, a ski area near Banff, and I was lined up with my 6 ski league friends, 6 years old. And we say, ready, set, go, and we skate off down the pitch, and we go through the pitch and off the jump and through the compression. We go through a mogul patch, and we cross an imaginary finish line. And when we crossed it, we throw our hands up in the air. We go, yeah, I get to be Phil Mayer. My buddy get to be Steve Mayer. My other friend to be Ingemar Stenmark, the heroes of the day. We see it, and we start to believe it. Isn't it interesting? As kids, we call that daydreaming, right? Yet as adults, that's a strategic technique called visualization. It was so real, and I remember the dream alive. 2 years later, I was 8 years old, sitting in our living room. My parents walked in, and my dad said, hey, Cary, where are your old ski boots? And I said, well, they're down in the basement. He walked down to the basement, and I followed he and my mom down, and I said, well, what are you doing with my boots? They said, oh, we're going to give them to Justin down the way because he's just learning how to ski. So that way he won't have to buy some boots. And I thought for a second. I said, well, do you think when Justin's done with them, we can get them back? My parents looked at me and they said, why, Cary? They don't fit you anymore. And I said, well, someday the Hall of Fame's going to want my first ski boots. Well, it's important for me to be doing what I'm doing now because I had 3 very severe concussions where I had to live like a 95-year-old man. I couldn't read, I couldn't work out, I couldn't do anything. And I have my youth back. I'm back 100% healthy, and I'm given another chance at life. And during that time, I had some discoveries that for me, my passion now is to help others. I had a dream to be the best in the world, and I was fortunate to attain that. Now I help others achieve their dreams and maximize their potential. That's the exciting thing for me.